Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren calling out the House GOP over their plan to repeal and replace Obamacare. She went on a Twitter rant saying, "Trump Care isn't a health care bill. A bill that destroys health care for millions to shovel cash into the rich isn't a health care bill. This isn't football. It's not about scoring points. AHCA, the name of the bill, will devastate Americans' health care. Families will go bankrupt. People will die." But where's Elizabeth Warren been with all the problems at the VA in her home state of Massachusetts? Let's take a look. This morning, one of her constituents and veteran John McDonald is calling her out. He is the spokesman for Veterans Assisting Veterans, and he joins us now. Thank you very much for joining us, John, and for your service to veterans. So give us a sense. We hear the chatter, the yelling, the outrage about people dying because of the repeal and replace of Obamacare. What are we hearing in Massachusetts, her home state, about what she's doing for veterans?
We're not hearing a whole heck of a lot. You know, it was 67 days ago that we were on the front page of the Boston Herald asking Elizabeth Warren where she is relative to helping out our nation's veterans, helping out Massachusetts veterans, and we have heard nothing from her. You know, first of all, Congress had to do something. We can take no pride in being the healthiest nation but most bankrupt nation in the world. Elizabeth Warren doesn't seem to have any sense of what's going on in Massachusetts or what's going on relative to helping our veterans. 22 veterans a day are dying in our country. It's a crisis. It's of epic proportions here. We have 22 heroes. These are heroes, combat veterans that are dying in our country. We had 2 veterans in Massachusetts recently commit suicide, and she is nowhere to be found. She's nowhere. She's running around the country on book tours.
You couldn't be more right.
Not representing us.
I wear a ring every day for 22 kill, a reminder of the vets that commit suicide every single day. It's top of mind for many of us. Yet when she takes on this bill, she impugns the motives of her opponents. As she's a believer in single-payer health care. That's what she wants. That's what the VA is, single-payer health care. And you've got example after example of the Boston VA and others where it isn't working and vets aren't being served well. So why doesn't she learn that lesson, that the example in her home state is an example of the type of health care she's trying to impose on everybody else?
Yeah, it's baffling. You know, there were 2 major stories in the Boston Herald, so it's not like she can't act like she's unaware of what's going on. 1 in 6 cases of traumatic brain injury were misdiagnosed or mishandled by the Boston VA. We recently had, then the second day, we had a veteran by the name of Brian Callahan, who's a constituent of hers, had 7 years of being misdiagnosed by the VA and has had terrible problems with a brain mass in his brain. And yet, does she reach out to help out any of the veterans? No. All she is an opportunist. And it's unfortunate because, you know, we're not trying to make a political statement here. We're just trying to get help for our veterans and to get her to understand that she represents Massachusetts. And it's really frustrating when she's nowhere to be found relative to veteran issues, but all of a sudden she decides that she's going to run around the country and decide that she's going to run for president and pay no attention to her constituents here in Massachusetts.
Well, her constituency in many ways is her hard left political ideology and her dedication to that. John McDonald, thank you very much for keeping up the fight there in Massachusetts. Keep us posted if you ever do hear anything from Senator Warren. I will not be holding my breath.
I'll do that. Don't hold your breath.
All right, thanks, John.